Let me break down what happened, what Ja Rule is saying, and why this moment is sparking a bigger conversation than just one confrontation at a concert. The story starts at a Brandy and Monica show where a scuffle broke out that involved Ja Rule and members of the crowd or security, depending on which angle you've seen online. Clips began circulating quickly, but short videos rarely tell the full story. After the dust-up, Ja Rule addressed it publicly, saying he was jumped and alleging that race played a role in how the situation escalated and how he was treated during and after the incident. Here's the substance of his explanation as it's being discussed. He says he wasn't the aggressor, that he was targeted and swarmed, and that the response by certain people on site was uneven, quick to restrain him and slow to check the actions of others. He frames it as part of a pattern many black artists and fans recognize, the idea that one group is seen as a threat first and a person second. He argues the same behavior, if done by someone else, would have been handled with more patience, more conversation, and less force. To understand the temperature here, it helps to step back. Live events are chaotic. Security has to make snap decisions with limited information, but those decisions aren't made in a vacuum. They're made by people with life experiences and, yes, biases, conscious or unconscious. When artists or attendees say race changes how they're perceived in those moments, they're pointing to something many have felt at clubs, arenas, and festivals for years. The way body language gets misread, the way voices are policed differently, the way certain folks are assumed to be the problem before anyone asks what actually happened. Now, what about the incident itself? The angles online show movement, shouting, and bodies converging. Classic recipe for confusion. You can't always tell who initiated what. Ja Rule's account is that he was jumped and then restrained, and that he felt singled out even as others escalated around him. He says race was a factor in why his side of the story wasn't heard first, why the response felt harsher, and why certain narratives gained traction so fast on social media. There are a few layers worth unpacking. First, venue operations. Most arenas have a use of force ladder for security, starting with presence, then verbal commands, guided escort, and only then holds or restraints if there's immediate danger. If policy wasn't followed, or if it was applied differently to different people, that's a legitimate concern to review. Second, the tour ecosystem. Shows with legacy artists like Brandy and Monica bring multi-generational crowds, VIP sections, and a lot of moving parts. House security, tour security, local police details, and sometimes private teams hired by individual guests. When that many actors overlap, accountability blurs. It becomes easy for everyone to say, "Not my call." Third, the racial lens. Alleging racism isn't a side note, it's the core claim. The key test is consistency. Would the same actions by a different person have drawn the same response at the same speed? That's where leadership has to step up. If the venue reviews footage and reports and finds discrepancies, who got questioned, who got restrained, who got escorted out, who didn't, that's data, not conjecture. If it turns out the response was even and by the book, say that and show the receipts. If it wasn't, fix it and train it. There's also how the public processes this. We've all seen how quickly a clip becomes a conclusion, but 5 seconds of video is not an investigation. The responsible way to handle it is simple. Listen to the person involved, compare it against the documentation, and ask whether policies were fairly applied. That's not picking sides. That's respecting the difference between a hot take and a fair take. For fans of Brandy and Monica, it's understandable to feel frustrated that a celebration of R&B became a flashpoint. But this is exactly why many artists, including Ja Rule, speak up when something feels off. If you shrug at the small moments, the big ones keep happening. If you call out a pattern, venues learn, tours adjust, and fans get safer, more welcoming shows. None of that requires demonizing staff. It requires honest debriefs and better training. If you're a promoter or venue manager watching this, you know the playbook. Pull the radio logs and the incident reports, sync them to timestamps from the cameras. Interview every guard in the chain. Ask the hard question, did anyone make assumptions based on who Ja Rule is, how he looks, or the energy of the crowd around him? Then publish a short, clear statement on what you found and what you're doing next. That transparency doesn't invite lawsuits, it prevents them. For Ja Rule, speaking on it is part of controlling the narrative, but it's also a risk. The internet can turn any claim into a referendum on your character. That's why it's important that we keep the focus on actions and policies instead of personality wars. If he says racism influenced the response, the right answer isn't prove it right now. It's let's check whether the response was equitable. That's measurable. That's fair. Here's what I'll be watching for next. 1. Whether the venue or the tour issues a findings memo, basic facts, who made which calls, and whether protocols were followed. 2. Whether there's an apology or acknowledgement of harm, even if unintentional. 3. Whether new steps are announced, like bias awareness refreshers for security teams, clearer VIP ingress-egress routes, or a fan code of conduct that's enforced evenly across the board. 4. Whether all parties can move forward without turning every show into a fortress. People came for music, not melees. At the end of the day, two things can be true. Live event security is hard, and bias can still show up in how that security is felt by different people. When someone says the way they were treated was shaped by race, the right response isn't to get defensive. It's to get curious, get the footage, get the reports, and get better. If that happens here, this won't just be a headline about a jump at a show. It'll be a nudge toward more respectful, consistent experiences for artists and fans, period. Thanks for rocking with me through this breakdown. If you value coverage that's calm, clear, and focused on facts over frenzy, do me a favor, like this video, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the Short Clips Podcast. I appreciate you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.